Okay. Today, because it's summertime, and the two elements from the Ayurvedic perspective that govern the summer season are fire and water, mostly fire. And we feel that in the heat, the temperature. We feel it in the humidity, the water and the humidity. When the temperature outside rises, then it's not at all uncommon for the temperature inside to begin rising as well. And so what this looks like when, let's look at it physically for a moment. Let me spotlight this. We'll look at it physically for a moment. So if you're carrying too much heat, physically, it might show up as rashes. It might show up as hives, might show up as any sort of skin inflammation. Internally, too much heat can make an appearance as digestive issues such as heartburn, gastritis. That's pretty intense. That'd be a lot of heat. Heartburn, gastritis, diarrhea is a sign of the body carrying too much heat. That's the body just trying to get rid of the heat. Obviously, fever is a sign of too much heat. Acid reflux, these digestive issues of high acidity are all signs of an increase of the fire of the fire element in our bodies. What it looks like mentally, emotionally, and or spiritually would be like hot temper, short fuse, hot head, maybe a little more judgmental and critical than typical, quick to flare up or mouth off, if you will, judgment, frustration, intolerance, resentment, things like that. Emotions like that show up when we're carrying too much heat in our heads. So the Ayurvedic medicine, I mean, you could really like funnel it down to one sentence, which is like qualities increase like qualities, and opposite qualities bring about healing or balance. So basically what that means, to put that in context, is if it's hot outside and we're accumulating more and more heat, because it's not going to cool off anytime soon. So rather than continuing to do activities or eat foods or put ourselves in situations in which heat will continue to rise, we want to do the opposite. We want to bring in opposing qualities. So that looks like laying off the hot sauce during summertime. That looks like eating more cilantro, more salads. It looks like drinking fewer margaritas and wine and spirits, and maybe imbibing more pomegranate juice and aloe vera juice. Yum! Cranberry juice, things like that. You can make all kinds of little fun mocktails. And yeah, and when it comes to your yoga practice, it means being deliberate about where, when, and how you practice. So rather than, like, Andrea has this lovely opportunity to practice outdoors, but it's like 70 degrees out there and it's overcast. So that's perfect for balancing the heat of summer. Here in northeastern Oklahoma, we're going to hit a heat index probably of triple digits today. And I know you are as well in Nebraska. I don't know what's happening up in Portland, Elaine, but I think what is it?
Cold.
Oh, is it really? Oh my gosh. So those of us in the Midwest region, we have more work to do to balance the heat. It's going to stay hot outside, so we want to do work on ourselves. So when it comes to our yoga practice, that means laying low, staying low, cooling practices, cooling pranayamas, no bright lights, no loud music. Keep your room at a moderate temperature, not too cold, but definitely no hot yoga in the middle of the day. So so today we're moving into we're going to do a deep stretch class, really low, on the ground pretty much the whole time. We'll do a couple of downward dogs in there, but we're going to keep hitting child's pose between our little sequences. So do what feels good for you. If the flexion of child's pose doesn't feel good in your hips or doesn't feel good on your knees or your ankles, just come to tabletop or pop into downward facing dog for a couple of breaths, and allow your body the opportunity to open up when it needs to open up and to kind of, shut in, close in when it needs to close in. So we're going to hold all of our shapes anywhere from 2 to 5 minutes. Yeah, that's what we've got going on. So a blanket and a block for sure. And let's get started in child's pose. And I tell you what, from before you drop down, take your blanket, and I have my blanket, so it comes off of the shelf in the yoga room like this. And I'm going to fold it in half again. So I've got a rectangle. It's a little bit thicker, maybe 2 or 3 inches. I'm going to put everybody on mute now, but if you have a question or something that you want to drop in and ask, then just pop over and unmute yourself and shout out. Okay, great. So your blanket, put it over to the right side of your mat, just about halfway down. I'm going to put my block up at the top of my mat just to have it on standby, and then sink your hips back into your heels. Take your arms forward and bring your forehead to the mat. You might feel more comfortable putting your forehead on your block. Nestle your hips back into your heels. You might take your knees a little wider and let your belly be soft. And relax between your legs, between your thighs. Slow your breath down. Breathing through your nose. And place your awareness more to your left nostril. And notice if your left nostril is any clearer than your right. Are they both about even? Does one have more space or airway? And visualize that you could breathe in just through your left nostril and breathe out through your right nostril. Emphasizing the openness of your left nostril as you inhale, allowing that cool air to circulate around the frontal lobe, and then emphasizing the right nostril as you exhale, and just keeping with this circular motion of inhaling left and exhaling right. Without disturbing your breath, I just want you to arc your trunk and torso over to the left. So reaching your right arm up towards the top left corner of your sticky mat. And then I always recommend taking your left fingertips just about 6 or 8 inches beyond your left knee. And with your left elbow bent, press your fingertips into the floor. Give yourself a little nudge over to the right. So you're leaning to the right, but reaching to the left. Good. As you press your left fingertips into the floor, maybe pull your left shoulder back just a tad. Subtle little move, just see how it feels. Yeah, great. Now, using your next breath in, sweep yourself back to center. I want you to keep your right arm long out in front of you, but begin to slide your right hand forward, lifting your hips up off of your heels until you come to a place where you can sweep your left arm between your right hand and your right knee, coming in to thread the needle. Left arm on the floor, come down to your left shoulder, down to your left temple. Now I'm going to practice keeping my right arm out beyond my head. I like to grab the top corner of my sticky mat. I feel like I can get a little leverage doing that. But you're welcome to take your right arm and anything goes. You can wrap it behind you. You can stack it over your left arm. Now, how about you shift your hips just a fraction to the left? And spin your left ribs towards your sternum. Slide your right hand onto the mat about in front of your nose. Press into the floor so you can lift yourself up and unthread your left arm. Bring your knees just about an inch closer together. And then let's come into cow pose. So arching your lower back, your middle back, your upper back, looking forward. And then drop your hips to your heels into child's pose as you exhale. Just an easy little flow. Now your next breath in, tuck your toes under and gently propel yourself forward to staff pose or plank pose. And then as you exhale, either child's pose or downward facing dog. And so that's the flow. As you inhale, come to your knees, look forward, spinal extension. And as you exhale, hips to heels, Balasana, child's pose. With your toes tucked, inhale, bring yourself forward to staff pose, shoulders over your wrists, Adho Mukha Dandasana. And as you exhale, hinge at your hips for downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Good. One more time. Let me take a look. Inhale to your knees. Looking forward. Beautiful. Exhale, child's pose, Balasana. Long through your side waists. Inhale to staff pose or plank pose. And exhale to downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Good, nice and slow. Good, and when you're ready, you're gonna drop into child's pose once more. Taking your arms forward, getting even longer from your hip crease to your armpits to your pinky fingers. And then here we go. Sweep your arms over to the right. Take your trunk with you. Good. Reaching your left hand, reaching your left arm towards the top right corner of your sticky mat. And then inching your right fingertips out to the right, just beyond your right knee. With your elbow bent, give yourself a little nudge. Lean into your left hip. Lean into your left sitting bone. Oh, push the cat out of the way. Poor kitty. I've missed you, Terry. Good. And as you lean into your left hip, sinking your left buttock even more into your left heel, reach your left arm up and out to the right, as though your left arm begins in your lower back, reaching and stretching through your low back. Good. Take your right shoulder back just a fraction. Okay, let's come back to center, moving slow, slow and low. Keep your left arm forward. Walk your fingertips out beyond the top edge of your sticky mat, lifting your hips enough so that you've got space and room to slide your right arm onto the floor between your left hand and your left knee. Coming in to thread the needle, round 2. Shifting your hips just a little bit to the right. Notice what changes, if anything. And then your choice what to do with your left arm. Either keep it forward beyond your head, developing even a longer line of energy, more space and expansion from your left fingertips all the way to your left hip crease. Or set your hand to the floor, stack your arm over your right arm, or sweep your left arm behind your back. About 20 more seconds. Breathing in through your left nostril, out through your right. Slide your left hand onto your mat if it's not already there. Unthread your right arm. Move slow. Bring your knees just a little closer together. Tuck your toes. Inhale and look forward. Arching your low back, middle back, and upper back. And keeping your toes tucked, drop into child's pose. Give the soles of our feet just a little bit of love and attention. And now you can propel yourself forward to staff pose as you breathe in. Strong line through the front, the anterior body. And then hinge your hips for dog pose as you breathe out. And let's do that 2 more times for a total of 3. Breathing in, drop to your knees, look forward, beam your heart forward. Child's pose, balasana as you exhale, hips to heels. Keep your toes tucked so you can stretch the plantar fascia. Inhaling, come forward to staff pose, shoulders over wrists, front body strong. And then breathing out, downward facing dog, back body long. Let's do one more time on your own. Very nice. Come down to your knees and then all the way down to your belly. And take your right arm out to the right, straight up from your shoulder. So take a look to the right and see that your wrist, your elbow, and your shoulder are all in the same plane. Palm down. Bend your left elbow, left hand comes to the floor, and you're going to roll yourself over onto your right shoulder. Now, if you want to bend your left knee and set your left foot to the floor, you can. If you want to keep your left leg stacked on your right leg, you want to bend your knees, anything goes. Anything goes with your legs. And then we're going to stay for a bit. And I want to give you some warning. So yesterday in the shoulder workshop, we took a look at the brachial plexus and a condition called thoracic outlet syndrome. And the reason I bring that up today is because really exploring the musculature around your right brachial plexus in this shape. So if you develop any tingling, any numbness, or any pain in your right fingers, your hand, your wrist, even your shoulder, then I want you to roll yourself out of this a bit. So let's not compromise or stay, just kind of plow through a shape that is obviously resulting in some compression of the nerve. So the brachial plexus is quite long. It starts at the cervical spine and it actually goes all the way down to the fingertips. So there's a lot of opportunity there for stuff to come up. Sometimes a slight bend to your right elbow will help. Good. Good. Everybody looks great. Good. Soft jaw, soft throat. Relax your neck. We're going to take another 30 seconds. Okay, using your left hand on your mat to almost like brakes so that you can slowly roll yourself onto your belly. No sudden moves. There's a lot going on there. in that shape. Bend your right elbow, bring your right forearm and your left forearm onto the mat. And now we're going to come into Ardha Bekasana, half frog pose. So here's why your blanket is over here on the right. I'm going to have you bend your right knee and just kind of chunk your right knee and shin, calves, and ankle up onto that blanket. And then adjust it. If you need it to be a little lower or a little higher, go for it. Keeping your left leg straight down the length of your mat. Now we're just going to come on down. Turn your head to the right, and you can rest your head on the back of your right hand. Ardha Bekasana. Ardha is half. Beka is frog, B-H-E-K-A. Unhinge your TMJ. Allow your bottom teeth to drop away from your top teeth, creating more space in your oral cavity. And then gently coax your tongue from the roof of your mouth. "30 more seconds. Let your belly relax. Invite your pelvis and your right adductors, the muscles of your inner thigh. Okay, so I'm going to have you keep your right knee and leg where it is, but come back to your forearms. Move slow. Move really, really slow. Be mindful of what's going on in your hips and your lower back. Now, we're going to come into a twist from here. Ready? So you're going to take your left arm and you're going to sweep your left arm onto the floor just behind your right elbow. And then let yourself come onto the outer edge of your left hip. Then you can sweep your right arm over behind you. Now your blanket, you might want to fold it up another bend. That's what I'm going to do. So I have a bit more support for my right knee. And then here we are in supine twist. And I want to give you an option to spice this up a little bit if you want. So this is door number 1. And if this doesn't feel great for you, maybe it doesn't feel great on your left hip flexor or your lower back, you can bend both knees and stack your right knee on top of your left knee. So we could call that door number 1. This could be door number 2 with your left leg long down the line of your mat. Door number 3 is going to be to bend your left knee, reach your right hand down and catch a hold of your left foot or your ankle or your pant leg. I think the yin folk call this cattail. I'm not really sure. I know there's a couple of yin teachers on the screen. You can tell us at the end of the practice or shout it out now if you want. But I really like this. This will be the first pretzel move of the sequence today. Okay, wherever you choose to go with this, I'm going to ask you to drop your right shoulder towards your mat, into your mat. And when it comes to your cervical spine, I'm going to encourage you to either look straight up to the ceiling or the sky, or turn your head to the left and look out beyond your left arm. Let's take a look at my people. Nice. Now, I'll tell you what, if you are grabbing a hold of your left foot, just bring your awareness to whether you're taking a hold of the instep of your left foot or the outer edge of your left foot. And see if you can make that shift to taking the outer edge of your left foot, noticing when you do what changes in your shoulder girdle, particularly in the glenohumeral joint. You take the instep of your foot, you're in internal rotation. And if you'll make this little pivot, taking your hand to the outer edge of your foot, then you've just opened yourself into external rotation. So you can play with that, see how it feels. We're going to take another full minute. If you've got a hold of your foot, let go. Allow your left leg to move long down the line of your mat. And slowly sweep your right arm up and over like you're finger painting across the ceiling or the sky. Until your right arm lands on top of your left arm. And I'll tell you what, slide your right hand beyond your left hand, so much so that you bring your forehead down to the floor. You're really compressing the left glenohumeral joint in this way and pulling your right scapula, almost like you're trying to pull it off of your back. Good. Bring your right hand to the floor, bending your elbow. And stretch your right leg down next to your left leg. Gently roll onto your belly. Take a little detour through Sphinx pose. Just let everything kind of work itself out in your spine, your hips, your lower back. Good. Press your hands into the floor. Come to your hands and your knees so that you can shift your blanket over to the left side of your mat. And then back to your belly. Take your left arm out to the left. You're going to give yourself a little nudge or roll over to your left shoulder. Legs are straight to begin, and then you can, once you get situated on your left side, being mindful that your left arm is straight out from your left shoulder, elbow, wrist in the same plane, palm down. First, identifying how this feels in your shoulder girdle, how it feels in your neck, your deltoids, the inner sleeve of your arm. Then you can toy around with your legs, maybe bending your right knee, setting your right foot to the floor, or finding a comfortable position. Notice if your jaw tensed up when we changed sides. Notice where your breath went. Invite it to continue moving in through your left, circulating cool air into your brain, out through your right. Reminder, we're asking the muscles that surround the brachial plexus to give us a pretty big stretch, a pretty big opening. We're asking for a pretty significant extension through our shoulder girdle. So be mindful and be kindful. Watch for tingling, numbness, sharp pain, and then give yourself a break. Allow yourself to bend your elbow slightly, or better yet, roll forward a little bit towards your belly. We've got another 30 seconds to go. Excellent. Placing your right hand on the floor if it's not already there. Slowly begin to roll yourself onto your belly. Take your time. Notice what you feel and what you hear. Come up onto your forearms. Just long enough to repo yourself on the mat if need be. Now we're coming into Ardha Bekasana, right? So you're going to bend your left knee, sweep your left knee, gently, up onto your blanket. Bending your elbows, you can rest your head on the back of your hands, turn your head to the left.
Hmm. Make your way onto your forearms. Just a transition. Now we're going to move into this twist. And take your right arm, and it's going to thread onto the mat, but just behind your left elbow. And then you'll give yourself a little turn so that you're on the outer edge of your right hip, your right thigh, the IT band. And then from here, you can sweep your left arm up and over. Remember your options for this twist. Door number 1 would be to bend both of your knees, place the blanket between your knees, and stack your knees one on top of the other. Door number 2 is to keep your right leg lengthened down the line of your mat, left knee resting on your blanket. I'm going to take my blanket a little higher, giving it a second fold. And then door number 3 is to bend your right knee, drawing your right heel up towards your buttock. Take your left arm down and reach for your right foot or your ankle or your pant leg with your left hand. Just as we did on the previous side, I'm going to encourage you to either keep your eyes looking straight ahead, straight along the bridge of your nose to the ceiling or to the sky, or better yet, turn your head to the right. Check in with your jaw, your teeth, and notice if this type of shape where we're getting a little more pretzel-y, if that resulted in any tension through your throat, your jaw. your tongue, your breath. And a gentle reminder, if you're taking a hold of your foot, make that little shift. If you can, if it's there for you, you can make that little shift, taking your hand to the outer edge of your right foot. But the same rules of engagement apply in this shape. We're asking a great deal of our left shoulder girdle. We're asking for a big amount of extension through our left arm. So if there's any tingling, any numbness, any discomfort through your arm, your wrist, or your hands, or your fingers in particular, then you got to cut yourself some slack. We're going to stay another full minute. You can let go of your foot if you have it. Let your right leg slide down the length of your mat. And then with your awareness on your left arm, lift your left arm up and sweep it over. Let your left arm land on top of your right arm, and then continue gliding your left hand beyond your right hand, so much so that you come down onto your forehead, compressing the bursa of the right glenohumeral joint. And while really asking our left scapula to slide and glide away from our spine. Good. Come back to neutral. Press your left hand into the floor. You can give yourself a little space to stretch your left leg down next to your right. Now you can roll onto your belly. Take your time. Repo yourself onto your mat again. Oh my goodness. Sphinx pose. Yow! Up on your forearms, please. Wiggle your legs, wiggle your bottom, wiggle your shoulders. And then let's land in the pose for about a minute. Just eyes looking down the bridge of your nose, and allow your breath to move as freely as possible through both nostrils, not favoring one over the other, just inhaling slowly and deeply, exhaling soft and sweet.
Allow your sphinxy spine to slink back to the mat. Oh. Bring your forehead to the mat. And then tuck your toes under. Walk your toes up towards your shins a little bit. And then push your heels back. And as you push your heels back, take the crown of your head forward, trying to find a bit of a stretch through the entire back line of our body. A posterior stretch. Lengthening that back line of fascia. And pop your knees up off the floor so your legs are active. Inch your toes forward another fraction of an inch. And push your heels back, reach the crown of your head forward, long through your entire spine. Great. Relax your legs. Bring your hands onto your mat. Make your way into child's pose, Balasana. Take your time. Moving really slowly. Hips to heels. Come up onto your hands and your knees, please. And I'm going to ask you to step your right foot forward. Now, if you want to cushion your left knee with your blanket, you're welcome to do so. Bring your block to the instep of your right foot so you can rest both hands at your block. Good. Okay, great. Good. Now, how about, hey, Terry, good to see you. Now, how about squeezing your right knee into your arm? And you might even push back a little bit, pushing your arm into your right knee. So you really activate, get the circular activation of muscles around your right thigh. Good. Pretty simple shape, but I will ask you to check in with your jaw. And how about toggling your mandible? That's your lower jaw. How about toggling your mandible back and forth a couple times? Maybe open your mouth and stick your tongue out. Good. Pull your tongue back in and close your mouth. Another 45 seconds. Whether you tuck your back toes under or not, it's completely up to you. I want you to feel supported around your back knee. Let your shoulders descend away from your ears so your neck is long. Okay, now, left hand is going to stay on the block. And I'm going to take my block off to the left and forward, just a fraction. Right hand comes to your right knee. Spin your right toes out to the right about 45 degrees. Okay. Roll your right shoulder back. So this is our first stage into this twist. Stage number 2 might be to bring your left forearm down to your block. Okay. Stage number 3 might be to kick your left heel up behind you, reach back with your right hand and grab a hold of the foot or the pant leg or your ankle. Now you can do some combination of those. You don't have to have your left forearm down onto the block. You might keep your left hand to the block. which actually feels really nice. But I leave it up to you. I want to give you some variables to play with. You're going to stay about 1.5 minutes longer. If you've got your foot, kick your foot into your hand to further open up your right anterior deltoid and your pectoralis. And then likewise, notice what's going on with your left shoulder. Notice if your left shoulder is rocking forward. Roll it back. And then I encourage you to just look down to the floor at the top of your sticky mat. And take another 30 seconds. If you have your foot, let it go. Sweep your right arm up and over. Ooh, ooh la la. Hello, rush of blood into my fingers. Turn your right toes so they face the top of your sticky mat. Set your block up front so all your fingertips can come to the floor. And then begin to hinge slowly. Nothing happens quickly out of this. Begin to hinge your hips back. And then from there, you can sweep your right knee back next to your left knee. And let's take a brief respite in child's pose, Balasana. Come forward to hands and knees, and here we go. The B side, take your left foot forward, cushion your right knee if you'd like. Bring your block to your mat, just to the instep of your left foot, so both hands can rest on the edge of the block. Staying in this low lunge first, dragon pose. Shoulders down away from your ears so your neck is long. So let your breath be full through both nostrils. And your jaw relaxed. Open your mouth really wide. Stick your tongue out. See if you can get the tip of your tongue to the bottom of your chin. Now pull your tongue back in, but take 5 counts to close your jaw. Excellent. We're going to twist it up from here. You're going to move your block over to the right and take it forward slightly. With your left hand to your left knee, spin your left toes off to the left about 45 degrees. So here you go. Just keeping your hips stable. Just roll from like your mid trunk up. Roll your left shoulder back, turn your sternum towards your left knee. Good. Second option, if you want to come down onto your right forearm, you can bring your right forearm to your block to take it a bit lower, a little more intense through your right hip flexor, totally up to you. Third option is to kick your right heel up behind you. Grab a hold of your right foot or ankle with your left hand. Now, if you remember when we did this, when we were in a twist on the floor, so I asked you to see that your hand was taking the outer edge of your foot. If you have a hold of your foot, you can toy with this. Take your hand to the instep of your foot and take a look at your left shoulder. Notice what's happening there versus that little subtle pivot, taking your hand to the outer edge of your left foot, the pinky toe side of your left foot, noticing what happens in your left shoulder. You kick your foot into your hand if you've got it, and then just turn your head and look towards the top of your sticky mat. Soft jaw, soft eyes, soft tongue. And with all the attention on the left shoulder, now I want you to put some of that attention on your right shoulder and notice if it's rounding forward, and make an adjustment to roll your right shoulder back. Okay, we're almost there. We're going to stay just a little over a minute. If you've got your foot, let go of it. Slowly sweep your left arm up and over. Turn your left toes to the top of your mat. Yowza, I was starting to get tingly on that one. Take your block off to the right. And with all your fingertips on the floor, move slow and gentle with care and compassion and tenderness. Hinge your hips back. Ooh, until you can sweep your right foot or left foot back, and set your left knee down next to your right knee. Child's pose, balasana. Oh, long exhale. Pour it out. Pour out the tension, the heat. Okay, Anahatasana is next. I want you to glide your hands forward until your hips rise up off of your heels. Hips are right over your knees. And then here's an option. Just set your block onto your mat and bring your forehead to your block. Okay, arms are reaching towards the top of your mat. Another option is to bring your forehead to your mat and sink your sternum towards your mat. The whole time your hips stay up. The third option is to take your chin to the mat. Definitely a bigger extension on the cervical spine. So you explore your range of motion, explore what's available to you, what feels appropriate in your body on this morning. Tush stays high. Heart and sternum sink low. And honestly, a little life hack, I like to grab the edges of my sticky mat with my hands. I find it helps to provide a little leverage.
3 more breaths. If your chin is on the mat, bring your forehead to the mat, placing your cervical spine in a bit more of a neutral position. Then you can slide your hands onto your mat under your shoulders. Press the floor away from you and lift yourself up to tabletop. I'm going to have you take a seat on the edge of your blanket. Oh, 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 oh. And once you find your seat, bring your arms in front of you with your elbows bent. Good, I'm going to mirror you. I want you to find your left elbow and take it underneath your right elbow. And then spin, spin, spin. I see you, puppy. Good. Coming into Garudasana, arms. Now press your elbows forward. Take your chin to your chest. Oh, lengthen the muscles of the upper trapezius. Lift your head, and you're going to keep your elbows right where they are in front of your sternum. I'm just going to ask you to pivot your forearms over to the left. 5 breaths. Big, full, deep breaths through both nostrils. Bring your forearms back to vertical, please. Ooh la la. Unwrap, unravel. Bring your arms to your sides. Roll your shoulders back a couple of times. Bring your arms out in front with your elbows bent. Find your left arm. Sweep your left elbow under your right elbow and twisty, twisty through your forearms. As you press your elbows forward, broadening your scapula across your upper back. Ooh, drop your chin to your chest. Lift your ribs and your sternum up out of your belly. So it's just your chin dropping, not the rest of your torso. Good. Lift your chin, looking straight ahead. Keep your forearms where they are, your elbows where they are, rather. Now we're going to pivot the forearms over to the right. 5 breaths. Return your forearms to vertical, please. Oh, unwrap. Bring your arms to your sides. Woo. Roll your shoulders a couple times. Ah, 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 ah. Okay. If you want to change the cross of your legs, do so. I'm going to have you, I'm not going to mirror you for this. Bring your right hand in front of your face. Rest the base of your thumb and the pad of your thumb and the pad of your ring finger at the bridge of your nose. Left hand rests on your lap. Palm up or palm down is completely up to you. Let's take a full breath in through both nostrils. When you're ready. And then let's exhale together from both nostrils. Now seal your right nostril and inhale through your left. And exhale right. We're going to stay with that circular pattern. Inhale left. And exhale right. 5 more times on your own for a total of 7. 1 for each tissue of the body. Cooling, calming, and soothing to our lymphatic tissue, to our blood cells, the mamsa, the muscle tissue, the medas, the fat, the ashti, the bone, the maja, the marrow, and the nerves, and the shukra and artava, the tissues of the reproductive system. Notice the temperature as it enters through your left nostril. Notice the temperature as your breath exits through your right. And don't rush, but as you get to round 7, you'll let go after you exhale from your right. Both hands resting at your lap. And we'll finish with just another 2 minutes of seated meditation. Orienting your ears over your shoulders and aligning your shoulders over your hips. Relaxed in your arms, your elbows, and your hands. Relaxed and light in your head. Open and expansive through your ribs, your lungs, and your heart. Grounded and stable through your hips and your pelvis and your legs. If your time
responsibilities and obligations permit, I would invite you to stay in meditation for another 5 minutes or more. Otherwise, I'm going to Om us out of here. You can breathe in and sweep your arms out to the side and up over your head. Big breath, gathering your prana above your crown. Om Shanti. 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 May our hearts be good and may our minds be good, and may this inherent goodness infuse all that we do in the hours and the days ahead. Thank you. Thanks, yogis. Feel free to just buzz off if you need to, or unmute yourselves and say bye. Bye, Andrea. Enjoy your last day there.
Thanks, Lisa.
Hey, thanks, Gina. Thanks, Debbie. Got your chat. Thank you. Appreciate you. Carrie, thanks so much. Elaine, what a pleasure. How'd your hip do with all that external, that external rotation?
It did just fine. I have, unfortunately, a little bit of right rotator cuff stuff that when you went from the internal rotation to the external rotation, it's like pain right there. And I've rehabbed it back last September or something. So I have all the instructions and I did really good at doing all those things and it got way better and basically gone, but it's back. So I'll pull those out of the closet, start over.
All right.